Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a book that kind of throws the whole traditional success thing right out the window.
Oh, yeah, this one's a doozy.
It's called The Journey. I wish I could have known this before I was 21.
Catchy title.
Right. And it's by Attila Horvath. Really makes you think, what if I'd known this stuff earlier?
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about finding your own path, your unique potential, and how to, make a real impact.
Make your mark.
Exactly.
But what I found really interesting was how Horvath just straight up says those ideas were fed about success, good grades, stable job, that whole thing. He says it's actually holding us back.
Interesting. It's almost like we're taught to fit in, not to stand out. Like he uses that example of artistic creativity. It's so individual, right? But even that gets judged subjectively in school.
Oh, totally. It's like the system's trying to mold us into something instead of letting us blossom into who we really are.
Yeah, and that feeds right into this idea that what we think and what we do has a huge impact. He actually quotes William James on this, that philosopher.
Oh, yeah, I love William James.
He said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes." Powerful stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
So much of it is about mindset, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of shaping our lives, Horvath gets into this whole concept of the collective unconscious.
Oh, yeah, Carl Jung's territory.
Exactly. That we're all connected through this deep well of universal experiences, but we're also totally unique individuals at the same time. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. And you know what? He says you can't learn this stuff in a classroom.
Really?
Nope. It's got to be a self-directed journey. And get this, he says it involves all those unempirical aspects of life, like love, advice, even spirituality.
You can't really measure.
Exactly. He's saying those are key to feeling truly fulfilled, not just chasing material success.
I like that. He even contrasts Darwin's survival of the fittest with the golden rule, find a balance between the two.
Right. Because it's not just about getting ahead, it's about how we treat each other along the way. And get this, he goes deep into the nature of thought itself.
Wow, where does he even go with that?
He even talks about its mystical origins, ties it to quantum physics. You might think, what's quantum physics got to do with self-discovery?
Right. Seems like a stretch.
But he uses it to show just how powerful our thoughts are. Like they can actually shape reality. It's wild. He uses this analogy from R.D. Laing, compares our thoughts to the water fish swim in.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So fish, they're surrounded by water, right? But they don't even really notice it. It's just there.
We're kind of like that with our thoughts, aren't we?
Exactly. We're swimming in them constantly, but not really paying attention to how much they're affecting us.
Wow, that's deep. So you're saying we got to be more aware of our own thought patterns?
Exactly. Horvath calls those insightful thoughts pearls of inspiration and says we got to be ready to receive them, see them as like guides on our journey. But he also says, don't just sit around waiting for inspiration to strike.
So what do we do?
He outlines all these essential attributes for personal growth that we can actually work on developing.
Give me some examples.
Okay, so overcoming those limiting beliefs that hold us back, understanding natural law, embracing failure as a learning experience.
I like that. Embracing failure. We don't do enough of that. And what else?
Nurturing our desires. He tells this awesome story about a guy searching for enlightenment. Really shows you the power of desire.
It's not just about wanting something. It's about that burning drive, right?
Exactly. He even brings in science, like the reticular activating system. Have you heard of that?
The RAS. Vaguely. Remind me.
It's like a filter in your brain, focuses your attention on what's important to you. Like when you buy a new car and suddenly you see that car everywhere. That's your RAS.
Oh, yeah. I always wondered about that.
So he's saying we can use that to our advantage, Visualize what we want, direct our subconscious mind towards our goals. He even mentions Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Classic.
And there's that story about John Assaraf manifested his dream home using vision boards. Powerful stuff.
So it's like, how much control do we really have over our lives, right?
Exactly. And Horvath is all about taking responsibility, making choices, learning from our mistakes instead of blaming others.
Own your journey.
Yep. And he's a huge fan of self-education. Says we can gain years of experience from every book we read.
That's encouraging. So it's not just about formal education. It's about always learning, always growing.
Right. Taking control of our own development. It's about shifting our perspective. Instead of blaming external stuff, recognize the power we have to shape our own reality.
We're not just victims of circumstance.
Exactly. We're the authors of our own stories. But the question is, how do we actually make that shift?
Yeah. It's one thing to understand it. It's another to actually live it.
Right. And that's where the real work begins.
Horvath really lays it all out there, doesn't he? It's a lot to take in.
It is, but he does a great job of breaking it down,
Yeah.
Especially for younger folks who are just starting to figure things out.
Makes you wish you had read it back then, right?
Oh, absolutely.
One thing I appreciate is how he uses all these examples, from his own life and other people's lives. It makes it so much more real.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's not just theory. It's like, this is how it actually works in the real world.
Exactly. And he doesn't just talk about taking responsibility. He actually shows you people who are doing it,
Yeah.
people who are living it.
It's inspiring, seeing how powerful mindset can be.
Yeah, because our beliefs really do shape our reality.
Totally. Horvath wants us to really examine those beliefs. And, if there are any holding us back, challenge them, get rid of them.
Like all that negative self-talk we do, right?
Exactly. He's like, come on, you're better than that. Believe in yourself, you can do anything.
I love that. Dream big, step outside your comfort zone. Anything is possible.
He's giving us permission to go for it,
Mhm.
in a world that's constantly telling us to play it safe.
Right. But this journey he talks about, it's not just about, like, finding yourself internally. It's about actually doing stuff, taking action.
Oh, yeah. He wants us to actually move towards our goals, put in the work, embrace the challenges that come up.
Because they will come up.
Right.
There's this part where he talks about sacrifice. Like, if you want to create something meaningful, you got to be willing to let go of some other stuff.
That's interesting. It's about choices, prioritizing what really matters to you.
And that takes discipline, right?
Oh, absolutely. Consistency, building good habits, staying focused even when things get tough.
Which they will, inevitably.
Yep. He talks about this idea of the slight edge. Have you heard of that?
I think so. Remind me.
It's like small, consistent actions over time lead to huge results. It's not about one big thing. It's about showing up every day, making those little choices that get you closer to where you want to be.
The compound effect. Love that.
It's powerful stuff. And what I love about Horvath is he really believes in everyone's potential. He doesn't sugarcoat it, but he also doesn't let us off the hook. He's like, you've got this, go make a difference.
Yeah. Use your talents, your gifts, contribute to the world.
Find your purpose, align your actions with your values, create a life that's both fulfilling and impactful.
That's the dream, right? And he brings it back to the power of the mind.
Oh, yeah, that RAS we were talking about.
So what?
The reticular activating system.
Oh, yeah, that filter in our brains.
Right. It helps us focus on what we want to bring into our lives. Remember that story about John Assaraf and the vision boards?
Yo, yeah, manifested his dream home. Amazing.
Right. It shows you what we can do when we use our thoughts intentionally.
Train our minds to see possibilities, believe in ourselves, take action, and get results.
Exactly. But it takes effort, to be aware of our thoughts, notice those negative patterns, and consciously choose better ones.
It's like we have to reprogram ourselves almost.
In a way, yeah. It's about understanding that we can change our inner world, and that will change our outer world too.
We're not just reacting to things, we're creating things.
And that's where gratitude comes in. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it changes your whole perspective.
Oh, for sure. It makes you appreciate what you have, find joy in the little things.
And approach challenges with a more positive attitude. Like, even in tough times, there's always something to be thankful for.
It helps you get through those tough times, doesn't it?
It really does. Horvath actually connects gratitude to this idea of providence.
Like divine order.
Yeah. He's saying there's a bigger plan. Even our struggles have a purpose.
We're exactly where we need to be,
Trust the journey.
even when it's hard.
Yep. Surrender to something bigger than yourself.
Let go of the need to control everything.
It's about faith, isn't it?
In ourselves, in the universe, in the journey itself.
And that faith, Horvath says, it often grows through action. It's like to take that first step, even if you're scared, and trust that the path will appear.
Don't just sit around waiting for things to happen. Make them happen.
Exactly. He talks a lot about self-education, Keep learning, keep growing, find mentors, resources.
Always be a student.
He even says every book we read is like years of experience condensed into a few hundred pages.
I love that. Makes you want to go read a ton of books.
Right. And he's big on taking responsibility. Own your choices, learn from your mistakes, don't blame others.
Because when we blame others, we're giving them power over us, right?
Right, exactly. It's about reclaiming our power, owning our story, and choosing to write a better one.
We're taking back control. We're not letting the world write our story for us.
Exactly. We get to choose how it unfolds. And I think that's really what this book is all about,
Yeah.
Empowering people, helping them find their potential, break free from those old beliefs, and just create a life that's, meaningful, fulfilling, all that good stuff.
It's like Horvath gave us this toolkit, right?
Yeah.
Packed with insights and strategies, stories to learn from.
Yeah, a roadmap for self-discovery. But the real question is, what are we going to do with it?
Right. It's one thing to read about it. It's another to actually put it into practice.
Exactly. So I'm curious, how are you going to prepare yourself for those pearls of inspiration, those moments of clarity? What can you do even today to start moving towards your goals, your unique potential?
What small steps can you take? What deserves more attention in your life? Those things you can't always measure, but that really matter.
It's all about asking those questions and then, actually doing something with the answers.
It all starts with us, right?
It does. The journey begins now.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's been a thought-provoking one.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
And remember, keep those thought muscles flexing. Until next time, everyone.